Hello and welcome to Pop Culture Shark. I'm Final Monkey.
And I'm Caleb.
On today's live stream, we're going to talk about TV shows that are basically your equivalent of comfort food. Maybe you're having a bad week, maybe the world's got you down, and these are TV shows, your go tos to watch when you're just needing something on in the background where you can just kind of, zone out, tune in, and just have a good time. But first, we're going to do our weekend checkup where we check and see how everything's going. So we'll start with Caleb. Caleb, how was your weekend?
It was good. One of my favorite musical artists was in Louisville this weekend. I know he's a very controversial figure. I like him. So last night I got to go see Machine Gun Kelly with Avril Lavigne with a couple of my friends. We just had a good time, and so that's why I'm a little groggy right now. I'm sort of getting my voice back. But yeah, it was just a good time. As far as other pop culture things, um, so like I said last week, I bought Skyward Sword HD on the Switch, and so I've been playing through that. And I'll be honest, I was having a really good time. I was like, you know what, this is pretty cool. It's very easy because I'm playing it with the button controls, and I think the majority of the challenge was based on the fact that they're motion controls, and so they probably made it easier. But then it commits the worst sin that I think any Zelda game can commit.
What's that?
So you know how you can go like the standard Zelda formula, which is from A Link to the Past, Ocarina of Time. You go to the three temples. That's the beginning of it, and then you get the three things. And then once you get the three things, then the game kind of starts.
Right.
And then after that, the game starts, and you go to like 4, maybe 8 other temples to get the other three things, so that way you can go to the final castle dungeon.
Mm-hmm.
You start in the woods, then you go to the Elven Volcano and Lanryu Mines. And now I'm back at the Farron Woods, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm redoing that first dungeon again.
Yeah. Skyward, like I said, I didn't get to finish it. I think I got to the part where, what is he called? The Cursed, or what's
The Imprisoned.
The Imprisoned. I got to that part where I had to fight him, and
Oh, that was like the easiest boss fight I've ever had.
yeah. And then shortly after that point, my game started giving me trouble, so I didn't get to finish it. But yeah, I remember that you had to revisit stuff, and I don't like how the map is broken up into 3 sections. I like to be able to go from one section to the other without having to go back up to the sky and back down. And
yeah,
it's. I feel like Skyward Sword was them testing a lot of things they wanted to do in Breath of the Wild. This was kind of them figuring out, oh, well, this is how the stamina system will work, and this is how this will work. They were still trying to figure that out. Like that was their main project, and this was kind of just like a side project. But
yeah, it's still a very fun game. The Lanryu Mines, one of the coolest Zelda dungeons I've ever played, with the crystals that have you go back and forth in time. That's super cool. And I don't mind revisiting dungeons, but if you're having me like play a dungeon again, but it's different, I'm not down with that.
Yeah. Yeah, Skyward Sword, not my favorite Zelda. I did remember liking the parts where you had to collect the, I think they were tears or something.
Yeah, those are cool.
Yeah, I remember one of those being really hectic and exciting. I think it was like the second one, like those guardian things were chasing me everywhere, and it got really out of control.
Yeah, the the goddess challenges that like that. I did the first one for Four Warriors Courage. That was so cool. I really enjoyed that, and it makes me think of the Master Trials.
For one where you had to slide down a hill.
I haven't gotten that one
Okay,
yet.
Okay, you broke up a little bit there,
Oh,
but yeah.
gotcha. No, it makes me think of the Master Trials from Breath of the Wild.
Okay, cool. All right. As for me and my weekend checkup, I was watching Orville. We had to stop because it just got too inappropriate for something for me to be watching with my youngest son. So I don't know. I just had a very frustrating where I was just tired of stuff being inappropriate. And I just kind of like that's why I came with this topic today of what TV shows can you kind of go to, and so this isn't on my list, but I turned on the old 2003 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles series. Just like, hey, you know what? I'm just gonna watch something I haven't watched in a while, but I remember enjoying, and you know what? I don't have to worry about anything being inappropriate because I've seen this.
Is it streaming anywhere?
Yeah, I'm watching it on. What am I watching it on? I think it's on Paramount Plus.
Oh, I don't have Paramount Plus. Okay.
Yeah, it's on Paramount Plus. It's weird. They have the whole series of that on there. They only have season 1 of the Nickelodeon show, but then I think the full season of the Nickelodeon show or the full series is on Netflix right now, which I don't have Netflix right now, so it's kind of like the weirdest thing about Ninja Turtles is the original series is not streaming anywhere. And it's been that way for years. Like I've never seen, I always see where you can buy it, but I've never seen them air that anywhere. So I don't know if there's some rights issue. It's very bizarre for one of the most popular cartoons of all time to just not be streaming anywhere.
Yeah, I remember it was maybe like 10, 15 years ago that it was on Netflix. Because I remember I was babysitting a kid, and Netflix was the only streaming service that anyone had, and we were watching Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So that was probably about like 10 years ago or so. I was probably like 13 or 14.
Yeah, that might be a topic we do sometime, is kind of like these lost Saturday morning cartoons that you can't watch anymore, like Eek the Cat. No one has that streaming anywhere ever.
That would be very interesting, because I have some that, like, we're different generations. One of mine is, and I don't know why it's not on Disney Plus. It should be on Disney Plus. Is Fillmore? Yeah, I loved Fillmore.
The same with Buzz Lightyear of Star Command, and I know why, because this other movie came out and they were conflicting, so they can't have two different backstories for Buzz, but still, it's bizarre.
Now I know that I haven't seen the new Lightyear movie. I've heard a lot of conflicting reports. I got some people who loved it, some people who didn't like it. If Warp Dark Matter is not a part of his origin, not my Buzz Lightyear.
So I didn't watch a lot of the cartoon. Is that
that's his best friend who turns out to be working for Zurg.
Can I spoil the movie for you, or do you care?
No, go ahead.
Do you know who Zurg is in the new movie?
It's like they go with the "I am your father" thing, right?
No.
Oh, they don't? Oh.
No.
Oh.
They changed it. So I can either spoil it for you. You can find out later.
Spoiler alert. Yeah, go ahead. I don't care.
It's basically Buzz Lightyear from the future trying to stop his past self. Is Zurg.
Okay. Yeah, I probably, once you said that, that's what I was thinking, kind of like the Flash season 3 or something like that.
Part 2, but of Toy Story 2, so I don't know. Yeah, I don't want to get on Lightyear tonight because it's controversial. So, what else? So, was watching Ninja Turtles. I fell down the Gargoyles rabbit hole again. I found a website that had it compiled in a more readable way of it was like a wiki of everything that he said about after the show ended, after what Greg Weisman said. So I was researching what happened to all the characters and just lots of stuff. So I've also been reading the comic book series I have that's kind of rare. The Slave Labor Graphics put out. Gosh, I guess it's been almost 15 years ago now. Which is basically season 3 of the show, and one of the spin-offs, Bad Guys. So I've been reading through those. And it makes a lot more sense now that I've gone through and rewatched the whole show. So that's been fun. What else? I think that's it, other than watching Looney Tunes with my kids, and that's always fun. I've found a channel that just airs Looney Tunes unedited 24 hours a day, and it's pretty incredible.
I love those where you can find like just 3 hours of SpongeBob, like, and it's edited weird so that way there's no copyright, but it's still cool to find.
I'll just say that Twitch is your friend. That's all I'll say.
Yeah,
there's all kinds of interesting channels on Twitch that just show us one TV show 24 hours a day if you look for them. Not sure how they're getting away with it, but it's pretty cool. All right, let's get to some news. So first off, we had a brand new Spider-Man comic book series announced out of nowhere this week, and they're bringing back Dan Slott.
Yay!
So, for those who don't know, Dan Slott was on the title for like 10 years or something crazy. He was on there for
too long,
a really, really long time.
And let me clarify. Whenever I say too long, even if I wasn't a fan of his stuff, I still think 10 years, like Jeff Johns ran out of ideas for Green Lantern in like 5 years.
I think there are writers who can do it. I think Peter David's Hulk run is incredible, and they kind of forced him off the book, and he still had tons of ideas.
Yeah, I can think of Walt Simonson on Thor. He was on there for a long time, but I can't think of anybody like now who could sustain a book for that long.
Yeah, so the original announcement a couple months ago was that Dan Slott was coming back to finish the Spider-Verse story. And now it seems like, oh no, he's actually sticking around. And it sounds like what was supposed to be the end of the Spider-Verse story is really all those characters coming to the Marvel Universe or something. And it sounds like Morlun will be the bad guy again.
Now, I will say I'm on board with that because he's my favorite Spider-Man villain from the 2000s.
Yeah, I have several issues with Marvel these days, but one of my big issues is having multiples of the same characters. Like you have 2 Wolverines, you have 100 gazillion Spider-Mans, you have, it just waters down the original character. And it seems like if I was writing it, I would send all the Spider-Verse fresh characters to a different dimension and just give them their own series over in that other dimension and have fun, but they're not coming to the Marvel Universe.
Well, even then, it's just confusing for the reader. Like even someone like myself who is aware, it's just frustrating and confusing because DC has even gone through this. They're pretty good about the Flash, where you have Barry is the Flash, then you have Wally as Kid Flash and Bart as Impulse. That's kind of like your basic setup. But after Kevin Smith's Quiver, whenever Oliver Queen was brought back from the dead and Connor had been Green Arrow for a long time, they're like, okay, so Oliver's going to be Green Arrow again. And he's like, no, I'll be Green Arrow. And then Connor can also still be Green Arrow. And so then you get 2 Green Arrows running around. And it's super confusing.
Yeah. Yeah, we're going to start seeing that in the MCU now that Kate Bishop's here. It's like, okay, is she Hawkeye or is she Lady Hawkeye or what? What's the difference? And
I'm cool if she's Hawkeye if Jeremy Renner is done with the role. That's one thing I'm cool with legacy characters is you can take on the mantle, but the other person's got to be done with it.
Right, and that's why it worked in Ultimate Spider-Man, because Peter was dead and Miles was,
Yeah.
Spider-Man. There was no confusion. It's like, yeah, Spider-Man is Miles. That's it. It's very confusing when he's running around the 616 universe and you have two of them. So, I used to be a huge Dan Slott fan. I fell off after a while. Like I said, Spider-Man run went too far. My issue is less with his comics and more with the individual himself. He's just I can't even say the words on air of what I think of him. He's just horrible on social media.
Yeah. Well, and social media and back then, whenever forums were much bigger than they are now, like he would go into forums and criticize people criticizing him.
Yeah, he's just kind of terrible. Which is sad because like I said, I used his She-Hulk run, Silver Surfer. He's got an amazing Batman comic book about the White Shark.
Yes,
it's great, and it's like
that was a Living Hell, right?
It's one of the Arkham books. I'm not sure which one it is, but yeah,
it's the origin. It's the origin of Great. Not. It's the origin of Great Shark.
Yes.
Yeah, that's Living Hell. That oh man, I read that as a kid. That freaked me out with Tweedledee.
Yeah.
Oh man, I should not have read that when I was a kid.
That book's cool because, and this is like I said, Dan Slott, he can be a good writer. He was adding new villains like every issue.
Yeah.
And that's really cool. And I don't know. So
yeah.
This series, it might be good, might not be good. It's hard to say if Dan lately. I feel like he's better at writing Spider-Man than Iron Man Fantastic Four, but we'll see.
And then you said that the artist is Bagley, right?
Yeah.
That's good at least. I like Bagley.
Yeah, Bagley was always my Spider-Man artist. So
if anything else, we'll at least have more Ultimate Spider-Man art to look at.
Right, right. All right, so let's move on to another news story. This one's bizarre. Howard Stern was on a hot mic the other day and said that he's doing some Doctor Doom project, and he was talking about calling Robert Downey Jr. for acting advice, and he had to call Jon Favreau and all this weird stuff. I don't buy any of this for a second. If anything, maybe there's a scene in a movie where he's interviewing Dr. Doom as Howard Stern, but other than that, there's just no way that he's doing anything with Dr. Doom.
Honestly, I know I watch Howard Stern a lot. I listen to Howard Stern a lot. He's probably one of the. I don't listen to the radio a whole lot, but I love Howard Stern. This I have no idea if there's any semblance of truth to this.
Right, because he's a known prankster. He's known to just say stuff to make news, and this is just weird. Now, if MODOK was still a series, I can see him being Dr. Doom on there or something.
Yeah.
But that's been canceled. So unless it's some weird animation project or some weird side project or a what if or something, I don't see this happening.
I'm trying to think because let's go ahead and imagine John Krasinski is for sure Reed Richards,
which is really in doubt lately. Actually, there's been a lot of conflicting stories. So, let's picture him as Krasinski. I sent you a rumor the other day that Jason Segel might be the Thing,
which I'm totally down with that.
Yeah, I could see that.
You know that's interesting. Well, let me get back to my thought real quick. Krasinski as Reed, and I think I cut out. Did I cut out?
Yeah, can you repeat that?
We're having troubles again. Krasinski as Reed, meaning his rival Victor Von Doom as or with Howard Stern. I think that's really funny. Now, the interesting thing, if we get Jason Segel as the Thing, and then you've got Krasinski as Reed Richards, what if this is a cast of traditionally comedic television actors? You know, because you've got Jason Segel from How I Met Your Mother. Krasinski was on The Office. Johnny Storm. Adam Devine from Modern Family, something like that. I cut out again, didn't I?
Yep.
Yeah. Johnny.
You're fine.
Yeah, Johnny Storm. Adam Devine.
Oh, I don't like Adam Devine.
Oh, you don't like it? You don't like Adam Devine?
No,
I do. But in that same vein,
it'd be a departure. It'd be something. I saw a picture of Adam Devine movie star. Though I guess he was in those Pitch Perfect movies, wasn't he?
Yeah. That's where I mainly know him. But I don't know. I think it's kind of like Paul Rudd as Scott Lang. Like, you wouldn't really think of it, but getting these comedy actors may actually be the best way to go.
Yeah, I don't know. So the other question we got to add thing right this second. There's not a whole lot of things in production, right? There's two, unless Doctor Doom somehow shows up in Black Panther or Wakanda,
which I could see it.
Yeah, I could see him being like an end credit scene or a cameo or something.
They could at least mention Latveria.
I did see artwork of what Namor looks like in the movie. It's interesting.
Do we know when D23 is?
It's usually like September, I think.
Okay.
August or September. It's coming up. Yeah, I saw a lot of the artwork for the bad guy and for Namor.
Who is the bad guy?
Atuma. He's an old Namor villain.
Okay.
Spoilers, I guess. Some of the artwork showed Namor wearing like Aztec headwear and stuff. It looked weird, but then some of it doesn't. So I don't know if that was maybe he's being worshipped by a culture there or something. I don't know. It's a little bizarre. The other project I could see Doctor Doom showing up in is Ant-Man 3. Especially if they're dealing with the microverse and all those rumors that made the Fantastic Four is trapped there. But yeah, I don't other than that, I don't know what Doctor Doom could be popping up in. So but we're definitely we gotta start gearing up for Fantastic Four soon. And I feel like at D23 they will announce something Fantastic Four related. So I think like 2024 will be Fantastic Four and some other big surprises. So yeah, very bizarre rumor. But we'll move on. We finally got a Nintendo Direct, but it was a partner showcase. So we still have no Breath of the Wild news.
Yeah.
And really that makes sense. Most of the games for the year from Nintendo have basically been announced. I'm sure we'll get a couple of surprises during the winter, but for the most part, they didn't really have a whole lot to show off that wouldn't be like next year titles.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what like the last game that like we know for sure is when is coming. I think it's Splatoon 3, which comes out in like September.
Yeah, Splatoon. Xenoblades is out sometime, and
yeah, that's coming up. Essentially, after September, we will have no release dates on any of their games.
So they'll have another Direct by August or September. Who knows? Nintendo is going to Nintendo, and they're very hard to predict.
Yeah,
I was hearing some chatter about Metroid Prime remakes coming to Switch.
I did hear about that. Yes,
So that may be an indication that Metroid Prime 4 news soon. I don't get everybody excited, but who knows?
I'm definitely down for some Metroid Prime remakes. Whenever we had Cameron on talking about Metroid Prime, as much as he's talking about that, like I feel the same way. It's in my top 10 at least.
Yeah, I need to revisit Metroid Prime at some point. So maybe if they re-release them.
What you need to do, and you just got to accept it. Just play through the game. Don't worry about all the scans. It's not worth it.
Probably so. Probably so. So I'm trying to remember if there's anything interesting they announced. There was a cool little train game I saw, Railgrade or something.
Oh, Square Enix. I gotta look up the name of this. Square Enix came out with it looked like Animal Crossing, but Final Fantasy, like something like that.
Yeah, that looked okay. It was a lot of games I just didn't care about.
Yeah.
What we got, like Pac-Man remake of Pac World or something.
Yeah, and then what was the Harvestella? That's what it was called.
Yeah, it was like a Harvest Moon type game. So,
and then of course the closest thing that we got was Mario plus Rabbids.
Yeah, and I felt like they spent way too much time on that game explaining how to play it. I was kind of like, yeah.
It's because that's the most Mario thing they had that day.
I guess. Return to Monkey Island was interesting.
Still no Bayonetta 3.
Yeah. So I don't know. It was just, yeah. I want to try that Live a Live game.
Yeah.
But other than that, just not a whole lot that was.
Essentially, when it's easy to be a Nintendo fan, it's really easy. When it's hard to be a Nintendo fan, it's really hard.
Yeah, they're a little quiet right now. So,
like, unfortunately for me, as like personally, it's not going to get better than that FF7 25th anniversary stream. Like just for me personally, it's not going to get better than that.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on to our main topic tonight. These are our TV show comfort foods. So these are the ones we go to when we're having a bad day or we just want to binge something. Number one on my list, this is streaming some places, but every once in a while it'll pop up as a 24-hour marathon, and when it's on, I gotta watch it, and that's the Twilight Zone. Twilight Zone, for those who don't know, was a show back, I guess it was the 50s and 60s. It's it's an older show, but it's usually black and white. And it's usually like morality tales with a twist, like sci-fi with a twist. And it's
our modern day equivalent is probably Black Mirror, but Black Mirror is a little bit more
adult.
I was gonna say depressing, but yeah,
that too. Yeah, Black Mirror can be very depressing. A few times I've watched it.
Interesting you say this is feel good, because whenever I think of Twilight Zone, of the majority of episodes I've seen, they got those O. Henry endings, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it just depends on the episode. There's some really neat ones. There's one where a guy is walking with his dog, and I think they were fishing, and then the dog started drowning, so he jumped in. He rescued the dog. Well, then they start walking down the path, and they're walking for a long time. And there's this fence, and this guy's like, "Oh, hey, yeah, come on in. This is a heaven, but you gotta leave your dog here." He's like, I'm afraid you drown down there. You and your dog drown, but you can't bring the dog in here. And the dog's freaking out. And the guy's like, "It's not heaven without my dog." And the guy keeps begging him, "Please come in here, come in here." And so they Fai's like, "No, I want to stay with my dog." So he keeps walking. So he gets a second entrance, and he's like, "Oh, come on in, bring your dog." And he goes, well, the guy down the road said, don't bring a dog. He goes, oh, yeah, that's hell. They're always trying to lure people in there, but dogs can sense evil, and they're always trying to trick people to come in there, and this is actually heaven. And, just this really cool twist. It's kind of a happy ending that, a man's going to be with his dog and all this. And,
Yeah. For me, the one that I think of, I don't know. I got to start like learning episodes, titles that I like.
Yeah.
But there's this one who he begins, and honestly, this scene has always stuck with me. I think about this way too often now. He goes off on this tangent that like we're alive for maybe like 80, 90 years. That's nothing in comparison to what time actually is.
Right.
And so the instigators, he makes this deal with the devil to be immortal.
Mm-hmm.
And then, he goes around doing all this stuff. Well, eventually, his wife dies, and it's mistaken for murder that is pinned on him. And so instead of the death penalty, they give him life in prison. Now, of course, for him, life in prison is forever.
Right.
And so then he calls back the devil, and he's like, hey, I'm done with this. He's like, all right. So he has a heart attack right then and there, and the devil has the soul.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some pretty cool devil ones.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Twilight Zone, it's great. I mean, some of the episodes will freak you out, but for the most part, it's family friendly.
Yeah,
if you want your kids watching that, this is something.
Well, in that episode I just explained, I saw that whenever I was like 12 or 13. It's not like so explicit. They're just interesting ideas.
Yeah. Now, that being said, the new version is not for kids. The one that Peele or Key or whichever one did.
Jordan Peele did,
not for kids. So we're talking about the old one.
I will be straight up. I do like it though. I watch it with my dad. I'm a fan, but yeah, definitely very different.
Yeah. All right. So, I just want to point out one more of these. There's one with his name is going to escape me right now. The guy that played the Penguin on
Burgess Meredith.
Burgess Meredith. The one where nobody will let him read his books.
Yes,
is just fantastic. He ends up inside a bank vault, and nuclear war goes off and kills everybody, and he's the only survivor. And then there's books everywhere, and now he has time to read, and then he drops his glasses, and they break. And he just freaks out at the end, and it's pretty epic. So, classic episode. Oh, and I can talk about Twilight Zone all day. The monsters on Mulberry Lane is like one of those episodes that they should show to every human being on the planet. Like, there's certain things I think everybody should have to watch, like 12 Angry Men or Idiocracy. I think
love
that
Idiocracy.
Yeah, I think the monsters on Mulberry Lane is pretty crazy. Have you ever seen that one?
Yeah.
Where the power goes out except for at one house, and paranoia just takes over, and everybody starts turning on each other.
Yeah.
It's pretty wild.
One of my favorite episodes actually became one of my guilty pleasure movies. I think the episode itself was called Steel, which was about like boxing, and like they had these androids that were boxing, but like at the end of the episode they couldn't get their android to work, so he goes in there and boxes himself against the android, and they ended up taking liberties from that and made the Hugh Jackman Real Steel movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
that's interesting.
Yeah, and I really enjoy that movie, actually.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to move on from Twilight Zone, one of the great all-time TV shows of all time.
Mm-hmm.
Just great show. All right, so now we'll go to something a little bit more comedic. One of your picks.
Yes, Scrubs. I rewatch Scrubs. Now, I've always said that my favorite comedy is Arrested Development, and it is. I watch Scrubs so much more. This is a show that has gotten me through tough times. I remember the first time I watched this, I was 17 years old. And it wasn't like the first time I watched it. Like I'd seen it on like Comedy Central and stuff like that. I watched a little bit with my dad, but it was on Netflix, so I could start from the beginning and go all the way through. And I had just started my first job at Chick-fil-A. And so as I'm watching JD go through his time at Sacred Heart, especially at the beginning, you start to notice, like, if you take all the medical jargon out and you take all the fast foodisms out, really, we all feel the same way when starting at a job. And I just, I watched this and it helped me get through my first couple months at Chick-fil-A. It was my very first job ever. And it's just one of my favorite shows. I think that Perry Cox is one of the greatest characters in television history. Absolutely fascinating. And Bob Kelso, oh man, I I quote Bob Kelso so often. A couple of my favorites, just to rail off the greatest hits, is he's got the who has two thumbs and doesn't give a crap? Bob Kelso. Another one is Turk, played by Donald Faison, who whenever he sweats after the gym, he starts to smell like eggs. That's kind of the joke. And so he's done with the gym, and Dr. Kelso's like, does anyone smell eggs? And he's like, no, it's just your imagination, sir. And then they go on with the scene. And then Kelso comes back. He's like, I'm serious. Am I having a stroke or is someone making an omelet?
Yeah, that used to be a running joke at my old job. Is somebody smelling orange peels, or are we having strokes? What's happening?
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I love this. And honestly, for me, the Super Bowl was amazing because Scrubs has one of the greatest musical episodes of all time. And Turk and JD does their song Guy Love. And then they had them do a duet in one of the Super Bowl commercials this year in reference to that. It was brilliant. Speaking of which, I love Zach Braff and Donald Faison's podcast. If y'all haven't listened to it, Fake Doctors, Real Friends. It's so cool because the fact that Drake Bell and Josh Peck weren't actually friends was heartbreaking for me. Like, go to hell. It's amazing to find out that Zach Braff and Donald Faison really, truly are best friends. And I love that. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I love Scrubs. It's an amazing 8 seasons. There are only 8 seasons. No one can tell me otherwise. There are only 8 seasons. And it's just great.
Yeah, and I was not as big a fan of Scrubs as you are, but every time I watched it, I had a good time. It was, it's one of those shows that if it's on, I will definitely watch it.
Yeah.
It'll make you laugh. Sometimes it'll make you cry, but it's a good one.
I at this point, the You Found Me scene. No. How to Save a Life. With Dr. Cox and the rabies patients. I mean, that one just breaks your heart.
Yeah, it's a good show. So let's move on to another one where the cast members did not quite get along behind the scenes. One of my favorites, Mythbusters. Mythbusters, for those who don't know, because it hasn't been on in a little bit, a show where they would just test myths every week. Jamie and Adam were the main hosts, and then they had like a B team that would also do myths. And I kind of like the B team a little bit more than Jamie and Adam, actually.
I'm trying to think of Corey, Grant, and Terry.
Yeah. And Grant passed away a couple of years ago, last year.
Yeah,
he
did.
it was shocking. But this is always just, a show you can just put on and you'll learn something usually.
Yeah.
And they love blowing things up. And
you know what this show is? This show really is like the precursor to like just some of the cool shows that we have on YouTube now.
Definitely. There's a lot of people on YouTube that have just been inspired by these guys. And a couple of guys on the B team worked at ILM, so they have like a lot of a background. I think they worked on episode 1, maybe episode
awesome.
2. So that's why Grant's always was always building robots, and he built the robot for Craig Ferguson for his late night show.
Oh, really?
Jeff.
Jeff Skillson.
Yeah.
Oh man. I remember you're the one who introduced me to Craig Ferguson, and I love Craig Ferguson.
That is still. There's 2 great late night talk shows: Craig Ferguson and Space Ghost. That's all you need. Craig Ferguson. I can still watch those reruns. I should have put that on the list. Still very funny.
Yeah, I'll just watch the compilations on YouTube.
Yeah, there is a channel. I'm sure it's not official, but they have been slowly uploading all the episodes.
The Jay Leno Fly or something like that.
I think it's just called The Show of Craig Ferguson. But okay. They are slowly uploading them all. They're still great. Very funny show. I wish they would give him another late night show because current late night is not great. But
yeah. And especially with Conan gone.
Yeah, but Mythbusters, incredible show. The last season's terrible, where they try to change it up, but that happens. They were having the ratings drops. They got rid of the B team and changed up the format, and it was just never the same. But yeah, really cool.
So they didn't get along behind the scenes?
Oh, no, they cannot stand each other. Jamie and Adam, they do not like each other. And you can kind of tell that Jamie's got a weird personality. Adam, he has a YouTube channel. He still builds stuff on there. And I think he grew up I think his parents were working on Sesame Street. So he's just kind of been around all that stuff for a long time. Puppets and building stuff and just all kinds of crazy stuff. So,
okay. Yeah, the majority I know about Mythbusters is actually from the Ghostbusters versus Mythbusters epic rap battle.
Yes, the epic rap battles of history is a great YouTube channel.
That's how I know their names, Corey, Grant, and Terry.
Yeah,
things are getting scary with Corey, Grant, and Terry.
Well, it's Tori Grant, Terry, or Tori Grant and Carrie. You got 2 of the names mixed up.
Tori Grant. Tori Grant and Carrie. Yeah.
There you go. But yeah, great show. I'm sure it's rerunning somewhere. It has to be. So, you know what I should have put on my list and I didn't put it on there was Impractical Jokers. That is a great one
of course,
to watch anytime you're in a bad mood. Impractical Jokers will usually make you laugh.
And
it's usually always on.
Yeah. It's always on. What's the deal now that Joe's left? How are they doing that?
I don't have cable right now, but from what I've seen, like when they do a Facebook post, is they're just having like a guest 4th person every week. Like I think Chris Jericho's on there this week or something. That's
fine. So it really is the new Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Basically, yeah. That's another show we could have on this list.
I know, I love it. It's there's a lot.
So there is a Twitch channel now that shows Whose Line Is It Anyway 24 hours a day. There's also one that shows MASH, one that shows Top Gear. Lots of great shows on there. Just saying. All right, let's move on to the next one. Another one of your picks.
Yes. It's a little bit newer, but I will just throw on the Mandalorian every so often just to fill space. It's such a good show, and I feel like we haven't gotten to talk about it yet. But a couple, just to rally off a couple of my favorite episodes. I love Chapter 3, The Sin. I think that's whenever we realized that this truly was a great show, because he gives, at the time he was just the child or Baby Yoda. Now we know him as Grogu. Gives Grogu to the Empire, sits down, goes to reach for the lever on his ship, and notices that the ball is gone. And then he's got that mask, but you can tell what's on his face just by the body language. And he goes and saves them. Oh, it was so cool to watch that at the time. Actually, I think one of the best episodes is actually could be considered one of the best Star Wars movies, because it's about that long. It's one of the longer episodes, with Timothy Olyphant as the Marshal, Cobb Vanth. Them teaming up with the Sand People.
Yeah.
Taking down the Crate Dragon. And then, of course, I think it's hilarious. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, let's not spoil the finale of season 2, just in case anybody hasn't seen it, but season 2's finale is just incredible.
Absolutely. I also think that it's hilarious that Bill Burr hates Star Wars, and yet he's like one of the best actors on that show.
Yeah. So hopefully they can keep it going. There's a lot of changes happening at Disney right now. And we saw that they kind of struggled a little with Book of Boba Fett. So we'll see if they can keep it going. I know they got thrown a curveball when Gina got fired. So, but yeah, looking forward to season 3. I think it's this year. It might be next year. I don't know.
I think it's beginning of next year.
Yeah, they usually premiere these around December, January. So
the only Star Wars thing that we have, I think we've got Andor in August, which I'm excited for. And then we've got Bad Batch season 2 coming out this year.
Yeah. Yep. So Mando, great show. Grogu is he just makes you happy.
Yeah. Have you seen you watch the pitch meetings from Screen Rant, right?
Sometimes. It's not something I watch every week, but yeah, every once in a while I'll watch them.
I watch them with my dad because my dad loves them. Their one for Mandalorian is so funny because he opens his pitch with Baby Yoda, and then the producer's like, "Wait, a Baby Yoda?" And and then for like the next 5 minutes, he goes on this existential crisis. Goes on like an adventure to a monk monastery. He goes to therapy. Just this whole thing before the pitch actually starts, and and then they're like, he's like, I don't know what it is I'm feeling, and they're like, dude, I think you love money. He's like, is that it? I love money. And so then he comes back and he's like, hey, sorry I was gone for so long. He's like, yeah, I've been standing here for like 2 weeks.
Yeah. Mandalorian, it's so good, and it's kind of like, I know for a while Yoda's species was off limits to the writers, but yeah, so once you hear it, Baby Yoda, it's a no-brainer. Like, oh yeah, that totally works. But just a really cool show. Really great moments. Yoda eating all the frog egg, or Grogu eating all the frog eggs is still one of the funniest things ever. That scene where he quietly eats one at the very end is so funny. Just great show. All right, so let's move on to our next one. This is actually several shows, but I just put it as just Star Trek. Star Trek, for the most part, and I'm not talking about modern Star Trek. I'm talking about classic, back in the '90s Star Trek. It's just a show you could just put on anytime and just watch. Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Voyager. It was just really good, well-made TV. Now the early seasons of Next Generation are a little rough, but once you get past those, it's just an amazing show. And Next Generation, towards the end, their finale, like it was in syndication, but its finale was rivaling like Seinfeld in the ratings. It was such a big deal. But yeah, just one of my just all-time favorite series.
Yeah. And I don't know if I've told the story. Have I talked on the show? Have I talked about the podcast that me and my friend wanted to start with Next Generation?
I know you've told me off air. I don't know if we've ever talked about it on air.
Okay, so my friend is a big Star Trek fan, and of course I love Star Wars. So what he wanted to do was he wanted to he wanted to call it the Star Trek Conversion Project, where he converts a Star Wars fan to a Star Trek fan. And so we started with Next Generation, but we started from the beginning. We did season 1 and season 2, and I'm like, dude, I can't do this anymore.
Which you have to get to when Riker has a beard.
Yeah,
it's better.
Yeah, that's what I'm told.
DS9, similar. Once Cisco has a beard, the show gets way better. Yes, the first couple of seasons started. There's a couple of good episodes, but for the most part, it's very skippable.
One thing that I do love about Next Generation, I'll just get these in my YouTube randomly, like in my recommendations. It'll just be like Data explains this or Star Trek explains this, and I assume that the interesting thing about Star Trek is its views on life. And so it's like Data explains how to order food, and it's some sort of like philosophical discussion that starts with, I don't know what to eat. How do I know what I desire? And those 2-minute videos that I watch are very interesting.
Yeah, so probably in September, once we get past the summer of stinkers and how he made me do it, I'll probably pick like 4 or 5 Next Generation episodes and make you watch them. And I think I could convert you if I pick 4 or 5 episodes.
Okay,
but that'll be later on.
Keep in mind, my favorite Star Trek thing is, I think my mouth is about to catch on fire. J.J. Abrams, 2009 movie.
That is not a terrible movie.
No, I think it's a good movie. I just don't.
It feels like a Western at times. We're having these gun battles and stuff. And
that movie is why I was excited they were putting him on Star Wars.
Yeah. Oh, JJ. All right, let's switch to one of your shows. But yeah, again, Star Trek, just one of those great things. I don't know what the heck they're doing with modern Star Trek. It's kind of a mess.
I've heard good things about Brave New Worlds from Star Trek fans, but I don't know. I'm not an authority on that.
I know a lot of people that liked Discovery. I thought season 1 was okay, but it never felt like there was only one episode that felt like a Star Trek episode of the whole first season. So, yeah. All right, so let's move on to one of your shows, The Closer.
Yes. Shout outs to my mom. My mother raised me on crime shows like Law and Order. She is probably the reason, along with my dad showing me the Daredevil movie, why I got a criminal justice degree. So when I was a kid, we had a thing happen where my dad no longer had a job. And so we had to move from Louisville to my grandparents' place. We lived with them for a summer up in Illinois. And while we were up there, they only had one TV, so we all had to take turns. And I could only play video games during the day. But we got to watch shows as a family, which is cool, and I think that's a lost art of watching shows as a family. Because now everyone binges and we need it now, and I'm not waiting for you to get home to watch this.
Yeah.
And so we watched American Idol. It was the Chris Daughtry season, and that's where I started to discover my love of music. And Chris Daughtry is a big inspiration for me. We watched House, which, of course, I love House. And we watched The Closer. And The Closer is such a great show because it is police procedural, but what it really gets down is the characters. Usually with stuff like Law and Order and NCIS and CS, all these shows, it's very much just like the same thing, and you can watch any episode at any time. The Closer is all about the characters and what goes on in their work lives and personal lives. So this is not really a show where you can just like jump in the middle of a season and start watching. You definitely want to know what's happening. But the cases are very interesting. This was actually a very interesting show for us as a family, because after Illinois, we actually ended up moving to New Jersey, very different from Kentucky. And so for Deputy Chief Brenda Lee Johnson, she's a Georgia girl who moved out to Los Angeles. And so that first season's very much fish out of water. She doesn't know who to trust because some people like the old chief, and she's a woman who very, very strong. Kira Sedgwick is just a great actress. This was the first thing that I saw J.K. Simmons in where I could actually I could acknowledge who he was, because of course I saw Spider-Man, but I wasn't old enough to realize that these were actors at the time.
Right.
And so, I see J.K. Simmons. I'm like, where have I seen him before? And it's like, oh, he's from Spider-Man.
Right.
And a couple of my favorite characters. I don't know the name. I know him as Detective Sanchez, also known as Tuco from Breaking Bad. He's fantastic. Sergeant Gabriel is a great character. The buddy cop comedic scenes of Detective Flynn and Detective Provenza are hilarious, because they're definitely like they're a little older than the rest of them. And my mom, she'll always talk about Provenza's bucket hat. And every time she sees a bucket hat, like even if the guy's, it's not a fisherman's hat, that's Lieutenant Provenza's hat.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Provenza from when he was on Police Academy movies. He was, so
yeah.
Were you a big fan of Major Crimes also, or?
No, not really. It's one of those things. We, as a family, we gave it the good old college try, but in my family's opinion, this show really is Kira Sedgwick's show.
See, I feel like I was never a humongous fan of either show. My family watched it a lot though, and I feel like I've seen way more Major Crimes than I have of The Closer.
At this point, Major Crimes is in syndication more, and I don't know why.
Yeah, it might be cheaper,
possibly. No. Speaking of Major Crimes, though, the star of Major Crimes was Captain Raider, who was kind of she was internal affairs, and she was always down Deputy Chief Johnson's throat, and like she was kind of one of the bad guys. but she has got one of the best redemption arcs. And like once you realize where she's coming from, she becomes one of your favorite characters. And conceptually, I see why they made her the star of Major Crimes. I don't think that the execution was great, but I definitely see why they went with her.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love the closer. It honestly, the closer is great because it brought me comfort in a time where my family was not in a great place.
Yeah.
So this is the epitome of feel good TV for me, at least.
Yeah, I've always enjoyed watching when I've watched these shows. I just was not like a humongous fan, but yeah, I get
Yeah.
it. So, in a similar vein, one that we both agree on,
Yes.
Law and Order. I used to be a Law and Order junkie. Like every time it was on, I was watching Law and Order, and they would this era right here. I think when Jerry Orbach passed away, it was kind of like over.
Yeah.
But just it's kind of a simple show.
Yes.
It has like if once you figure out the story beats, you'll see them like every week, the same story beats. So
I think that John Mulaney's bit on Law and Order is hilarious because it's like there's always the same characters, like the guy who, despite being questioned by police on a murder investigation, won't stop unloading boxes.
Yeah. And the police are always going to do something wrong to get some evidence thrown out. And, it's at least the early seasons.
And Jack is always right.
Yeah. Just very formulaic, but it's just good TV.
Honestly, I think that's a comforting thing is like formula. Like you don't have to deal with like the emotional roller coaster of like Game of Thrones or Breaking Bad. It's nice to have a formula every once in a while.
Well, me and my brother, we used to talk about that show, and I'm trying to think of what it was. The Last Ship. We would watch that like every week, and we loved it. And it was like it's not that it's like Shakespeare. It wasn't like great TV, but it was satisfying. And if a TV show is satisfying, then the quality doesn't have to be perfect.
Right.
And Law and Order was just always very satisfying.
Mm-hmm. Now I agree about Jerry Orbach. I do think that the seasons with Jeremy Sisto and Anthony Anderson are also pretty good. Mm-hmm. And I am enjoying the new stuff with I don't know the actor's name, but he's Michael Weston from Burn Notice.
Okay.
But I do love me some Law and Order. Actually, I feel like I'm talking about my mom a lot this week, but honestly, my mom and dad gave me a lot of my television taste. Because my dad is one who showed me Scrubs, and Mandalorian is what we watch as a family. Like it comes on Wednesday. Stuff comes on Wednesdays, but we got church stuff on Wednesdays. So we intentionally, as a family, we all wait until Friday. So we'll go over to their house and watch it as a family, just so we can kind of recapture what we had. But I remember this one instance with my mom. I was watching one of my favorite films of all time, Batman Beyond: Return of the Joker.
Mm-hmm.
And Barbara Gordon was telling her story about what happened with Tim Drake. And she was talking. And my mom's like, "Is that Angie Harmon?" And I'm like, "I don't know." And so looked it up. Yes, she wasn't in the show, but she was in the movie. Angie Harmon is Barbara Gordon.
Yeah.
She's just got that distinctive, like, low register voice, very masculine but still feminine in a way. Very iconic voice.
Yeah. If you're a fan of Law and Order, you have to check out BrandonBird.com. He is a guy who does paintings, really weird pop culture paintings. He has all kinds of Law and Order artwork. He just released some SVU tarot cards.
Oh gosh.
It's crazy and I love it. He's done a Law and Order coloring book, and I think Jerry Orbach had a copy of it on one of his talk show appearances. They were looking at it. Uh, just really cool artwork, bizarre artwork. But yeah, BrandonBird.com, a lot of fun. All right, one more show. Now this one is one of yours. I'm a little bit familiar with this guy. He's popped up
Yes.
on whenever Game Theory does her 24-hour streams. He'll
Hmm.
pop up on there.
Yeah. Yes, this is Binging with Babish, and I think this would be. I wanted to talk about this to introduce the idea. Um, there are some YouTube channels that are basically TV shows now. Like they have that quality. Game Theory, I think, is one of those. Like he's got Game Theory, Film Theory, Food Theory. I think that at this point, these are in their own way short form TV shows.
Absolutely.
And so I honestly, I talk about Babish and Andrew's show because I want to introduce that idea because I think it'd be an interesting topic one week. But growing up, once again, with my mom, I would watch the Food Network with her. I'd watch Alton Brown. I'd watch Rachel Ray, Jada De Laurentiis, Bobby Flay, all these shows. And so like I would watch them with my mom, and they're pretty cool. When I found out about this guy a couple years ago, if you're not familiar with what he does, his main show, Binging with Babish, is he will make food from TV shows and movies. So like his first episode was the Turkey Burger by Chris Traeger from Parks and Recreation. Sometimes he'll use something like he won't make it verbatim, but he'll use it as an excuse to make something. So like I think the third episode that he ever did was TMNT Secret of the Use, and he just used it as an excuse to make pizza.
Nice.
Some of my favorites are the Matrix Steak episode. I love the Matrix Steak episode. He does a lot from Frasier. Frasier, he's got on record many times said Frasier's his favorite show. He does sometimes he'll do like these specials where he'll take a bunch of stuff from a famous show and do a bunch. So like he did one for It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia where they did the rum ham and the grilled Charlie and Fight Milk. Did a two-parter for Lord of the Rings. He's done so much Seinfeld, so much How I Met Your Mother. My personal favorite is he did the Taco Town taco from Saturday Night Live, which if you're not aware of the Taco Town taco, it's taco gordita wrap thing that involves blueberry pancakes, pizza, and deep frying it. It's really funny. And then he's also got other shows, like he's got Basics with Babish, where it really is kind of like an old school cooking show where he just teaches you these basics of how to make eggs. Here's how to fry an egg. If you don't know how to scramble an egg, here we go. Here's how to ferment pizza dough. Just stuff like that. And then he's got Botched by Babish, where he goes back to his old stuff from like when he first started out and stuff that maybe he didn't do as well. And now that he's much more experienced, he'll redo stuff. He's also gone on record saying that his favorite film is Chef, and so he does a bunch of Chef. He has had Jon Favreau on his show many times.
Oh, that's cool.
And he actually, so if you're familiar with the food seduction scene from Chef, he's actually got the carving tong from Chef given to him by Jon Favreau. So it's just a cool show. And so the reason I wanted to talk about this is just to introduce the idea that at this point, not every show, but a lot of shows on YouTube are TV shows now.
Well, and I know myself and my children, we watch more YouTube than we do anything else these days.
I mean, I think that's the truth for a lot of people.
Yeah.
I can think of Smosh.
Good Mythical Morning.
Oh yes, I love Good Mythical Morning.
Yeah, I mean, there's just several out there.
The Try Guys, yeah.
Yeah. So I think that I definitely think YouTube is the future, at least for the time being. YouTube and Twitch will kind of become once this next generation kind of dies out. I think cable TV is dead. I think streaming is. I mean, this is a whole nother conversation, but I think streaming is struggling to figure itself out, and it's going to end up kind of like cable again at some point, where a lot of these streaming services are going to bundle together, and it'll be like a package, you know.
I mean, we've already seen that with Disney Plus, Hulu, and ESPN Plus.
Yeah. So I think you will see more of that, because right now there's too many streaming services, and they're realizing there's not as much money in streaming as they thought there was. So yeah, but that's, like I said, that's a whole nother topic.
Yeah.
But we would love to hear what your comfort food TV shows are. Please post them down in the comments. And now, Caleb, we gotta talk. He Made Me Do It is a segment of the show where we take turns watching different things. And we decided that we're going to do the summer of stinkers. And we're going to take turns making each other watch movies that are a little bit bad, but they're fun overall. I'm hoping that we don't just make someone watch something that's just terrible and boring. That's like the worst crime a bad movie can do.
I'm not going to have you watch The Vanishing with Kiefer Sutherland.
Yeah. So you picked, we're both huge fans of Batman the Animated Series. So you picked a DC animated film called Batman and Harley Quinn.
Yes, I did.
And I started watching this and I was like, I mean, this is okay. It doesn't seem all that out of the ordinary at first. And then just kind of goes off the rails. Basically, Poison Ivy and Plant Man are going to use Swamp Thing's formula to turn everybody in the world into plants or plant people or something. I was never 100% sure what they were doing.
I'm actually not exactly sure what's going on in this movie.
So Batman figures that since Harley Quinn's friends with Poison Ivy, that's their only lead. And if they get the formula wrong, it will kill everybody on the planet. I believe that's the plot.
It's something like that.
So, first off, it's been a while since I watched Batman the Animated Series, but I think they were pretty good about when there was a female villain. Usually, the male characters did not hit the female characters. Would you say that's correct?
I think so.
For the most part, Batgirl's gonna do the fighting against like Catwoman or Harley Quinn or Poison Ivy, or Batman's gonna be fighting their goons more likely than the actual. I
think he just grabs them.
Yeah, or hits them, catches them with the batarang, like the rope or whatever, ties them up. And
then in Mad Love, Joker actually hits her, and it's a big deal.
Yeah, because you were dealing with standards and practices, Saturday morning cartoons. This cartoon, I almost felt like Nightwing was the villain. He was just beating the mess out of every female character in the movie. I felt uncomfortable watching it.
Yeah,
it's very violent towards women in this film, and I'm not saying to be preachy or whatever, but it was just weird. The other thing that I felt like Batman, I had to make a list of everything I had from this movie. I was making a huge list last night. I felt like Batman and Nightwing were almost unrecognizable in this film.
Yes.
Like Batman There's an episode of, it's been a while since I watched Batman animated series, but there's an episode, I think it's called like Harley's Holiday or something,
Yes, I know which one you're
where
talking about.
she is trying to go straight and something happens where the tag gets left on something she's buying and the alarms go off and she just freaks out.
It's so funny because like it's not a huge deal. They're like, "Come on, we'll just take this off." He's like, "No, you're trying to take me back to the slammer." It's sad, but it's one of the funniest episodes.
But I felt like in that episode, Batman felt bad for her. He was trying to
Yes.
rehab her, all this stuff. That is not in this movie at all.
No?
Batman is just a jerk. He doesn't want to rehab anybody. Like I feel like one of the reoccurring things in Batman animated series was like he was trying to help Victor Freeze or he was trying to help Harvey Dent. He wanted to
Baby doll.
yeah, he yes, these people had to be stopped, but he also wanted to help them.
Even
That
to
is
an extent, there's some episodes where like he wants to help the Joker.
yeah. And I feel like that is yes, Batman is dark and grim and knows everything, but that's also a big part of the character is him trying to help these people. Even in like Dark Knight Returns, he's trying to help Harvey Dent still.
Yeah, I think people get it confused and like, Batman's a pessimist. I think the fact that Batman thinks he can do this makes him one of the most optimistic people ever.
Yeah, like he has hope that one day Gotham will be crime free. Like one day it'll be safe to walk down the street with your parents and not worry. I think that is Batman.
Yes.
So yeah, the violence towards women in this movie bizarre. I feel like Nightwing coerced Harley Quinn to fall back into this lifestyle after she specifically said, "No, I don't want any part of this." They're like, "Tough, we don't care." It's just weird.
Yeah.
Batman in this movie itself says several times, "I have eyes and ears everywhere. I'm the greatest detective." Why does he need Harley Quinn to find Poison Ivy?
Yeah.
It was so bizarre. I'm like, this should be very quickly. Harley Quinn, you got your leads? No, okay. Harley Quinn's a dead end. We're moving on. I don't know why Harley Quinn was so essential to any of this.
Because she's essential in order to sell the film.
I guess. The other thing was, I know they were trying to go for comedy here. Well, that's another issue. The tone is all over the place.
Yes. It's not a comedy. It's not a drama. It's something else.
It's kind of silly at points, but then also it's like the world's about to end. But it doesn't feel like Batman or Nightwing ever feel like the world's about to end.
Yeah.
They're just kind of moseying around, doing this, that, whatever. The Justice League offers to help, but all the lame members are like, "Nah, we got it." And that's like, cool. They would have, if the world's really about to end, they would have pulled in everybody.
Yeah.
Just a lot of weird things like that. Now, one thing I did like was when they went to the villain bar and Captain Clown was there dancing. I thought that was very funny. The two guys that were singing looked very familiar, but I could not place them. I think it was like Tim and Tom or Tim and Tam or something. But I'm sure they're in some episode of somebody's henchmen.
Mm-hmm.
But then that scene got weird. Harley Quinn sings this awful song.
Yes. I have three greatest hits, and you just mentioned one of them.
And you notice I haven't really talked about Harley. I'm just focusing on Batman right now. They offer him a glass of milk and he drinks it. And I'm like, it's a bar full of villains. If you're the world's greatest detective, how easy would it have been to poison Batman at this moment? You just drank it, like no big deal. It's just a lot of weird stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, some of the jokes were funny with Harley, like where she jumped out and was chasing that guy. I was like, oh, this guy has nothing to do with this. And she chases him forever. And it's like, oh, it's just a guy that stood her up, They had fart jokes in the movie. I'm not big on potty humor unless it's funny. I think there's a way to do those jokes where it is funny. This was not funny at all.
I think it's one of the... I remember whenever this movie first came out, and I read about it, and I'm like, there's no way. No, that's not in... And then I watched it, and I'm like, this is like a minute long. and we're still going and go. Why? Another thing I have to mention, because
It just goes on forever, and then they do it
yeah,
again.
yeah, it keeps going, and we didn't mention this in the synopsis. I got to go ahead and mention this. The scene towards the beginning with Nightwing and Harley.
It's weird.
It rubs me the wrong way. The question of consent is really there as well.
Yeah, and I think this actually happened in the comic books to Robin at
It
some
did.
point, or Nightwing.
Yeah.
A very similar thing.
It was
where
Tarantula.
Harley just forces herself onto Nightwing, and he's kind of like, I don't know about this, and it's questionable if he ever, like you said, consented. It's weird.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about Harley Quinn herself.
Yes,
Melissa Roach is from Big Bang Theory. She plays Bernadette over there. She has a very annoying voice.
Yeah, and I am not a Big Bang Theory fan. Yeah. I'll go ahead and put that out there. And from what I can tell, I don't think that that's her actual voice.
No, it's not. She used to be on that VH1 show, The Best Week Ever.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, that's not her voice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know why they don't get Arlene Sorkin to come back and voice Harley. Maybe she's a little older now and can't do the voice. It says she's retired on her Wikipedia page. But
and if not, Tara Strong is...
Oh, yeah. Well, I think they wanted someone that had a little bit of name power. You know, they got Paget Brewster to be Poison Ivy.
Yes. I'll go ahead and be honest. I didn't mind her. I thought
she was fine. I've never been a huge fan of the whole Poison Ivy Harley Quinn friendship thing. It never made much sense to me.
I can get behind the friendship. I don't get the relationship part though.
Yeah, it's, I don't know, just weird. Kevin Michael Richardson is also a voice in this. I just don't know. I'm sure he's a nice guy. I have never liked Kevin Michael Richardson's voice in anything. He was the Joker on the Batman. He was Shredder on the new Ninja Turtle cartoon. I just don't like his voice. I don't know. There's something about it. He was voicing Plant Man. This just didn't work. Like I said, probably nicest guy in the world. I'm just not a fan. So let's talk about the big issue here, the ending of the movie. It's a very Looney Tunes type ending. They've been fighting this plant guy. Nothing they do works. Swamp Thing appears, and I thought this joke could have worked. They just didn't quite do it right. Swamp Thing appears like he's going to save the day. Then he's like, "Oh yeah, but this is a human issue or whatever. I'm out," and he just leaves. I thought that was a funny joke, but they didn't follow it up right. So then Batman, Robin, or Nightwing are arguing about what to do, and then she's like, "It's a plant," and they're like, "Oh, if I got a match, and they just set him on fire." And there is two end credit scenes. I don't know if you saw the end credit scene.
Yes.
They're weird, but I thought a funnier ending, since this movie is so bizarre, anyways. Have Swamp Thing appear and be like, "Oh yeah, this is a human thing. I'm out," and then just have Plant Man succeed, and then just end with 3 talking trees in the woods, and Batman and Nightwing are stuck with Harley Quinn forever. Just have him say, her be like, "Well, I guess it's not so bad being a tree," and Batman's just like, "Kill me." Just end the movie like that. We're gonna do a stupid ending anyways.
Right, and here's the thing, I think this is the worst part about the movie. Do you know why they didn't go with that?
Why?
Because this is canon to the DC animated universe.
I saw something about that on the Wikipedia page saying this is a canon. He goes, "Yeah, I guess it is," and it was just kind of like, I just feel like if you're just gonna do a silly movie, then just say it's not canon and just have a goofy ending. Yeah, just commit to it. Then at that point,
no, I think honestly, the best I have an idea. If we want to get someone from Big Bang Theory to do a goofy Looney Tunes version of, and a little bit more adult version of Harley Quinn. Oh wait, they've already done that.
I was about to say, isn't she on the series?
Yeah. Kaylee Cuoco.
Yeah.
And I think that show's fantastic. And I think she's got a great voice for Harley Quinn.
Yeah, I noticed that this was co-written by Bruce Timm. And I know Batman animated series is Bruce Timm's Batman animated series, but I think he was more of the design guy. Paul Dini and Burnett and all them, they were more of the writers.
Yes.
And Paul Dini's known for like drawing hot women and stuff, and you could definitely see that throughout this movie. A lot of TNA. Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you realize the two things that Bruce Timm has really had a sharp grasp on in these animated movies are Batman and Harley Quinn and Batman the Killing Joke. I'm going in and out. Batman the Killing Joke.
Yeah, and I've heard Killing Joke is a mess also.
Yes.
So so Bruce Timm is definitely their design guy. Maybe he shouldn't be the story guy.
Yeah, and then you realize Alan Burnett did Justice League Gods and Monsters, which is one of the best animated movies they've come out with. So it's there's I'm sort of excited for the HBO Max Batman Caped Crusader show, but at the same time, Bruce Timm's fingers are all over that. He's the showrunner. He's a writer.
Yeah, and it's. I think what's so frustrating about this is they can do a good Batman cartoon. We've seen it several times, and it's almost like they've forgotten the formula to make it work.
Yeah, well, and honestly, I don't think that there has been a bad Batman cartoon in a long time, because you have, you just have different shows. Batman the Animated Series was great. I personally, because I grew up with it, I love the Batman. That's one of my favorites. Brave and the Bold, you got to know what you're getting into.
Yeah, once you know what they're doing, it's pretty fantastic.
Yeah. And then Beware the Batman. It wasn't popular, but if you actually sit down and watch that show, it might be the best written show that they've ever come out with for a Batman cartoon.
I don't know if I remember that one.
It was the one that had Katana in it.
Check it out.
Yeah, it's essentially a 24 episode origin of what was Batman's team called?
The Outsiders.
The Outsiders, yeah. It's a 24 because you got Man Bat in it, Metamorphose in it, essentially, and your main bad guy is Anarchy, which is super cool because I love Anarchy.
So I cannot recommend this movie. There were some fun parts, but for the most part, I don't think it's worth a watch. There's much better. Just pick any Harley Quinn episode of the Batman animated series.
Yeah, and if you are of age, the Harley Quinn show on HBO Max, if you're looking for something a little bit more comedically raunchy like this is, if that's your bag, that as well. There are just things that this tries to do that other things do better.
Yeah, so I'll recommend 3 Harley Quinn things real quick. The Mad Love episode of Batman animated series.
Absolutely.
Harley's Holiday.
Mm-hmm.
and then Batman Beyond: Return of the Joker, director's cut.
Oh man, it's so good.
Yeah.
Um,
So
then I will go. Oh, I cut out again. Dang it. Then I will recommend
yep.
Harley Quinn on HBO Max. I'm a big fan of Birds of Prey movie. I think it's hilarious. And Harley Quinn's Revenge, the DLC for Batman Arkham City.
There you go.
I love it.
All right, so I was going to pick something worse. I decided to dial it back. I was asking if you had Tubi. We'll hold that one off for later. But we'll talk about we'll do one that I mentioned before doing Turbulence 3 Heavy Metal. I don't want to give away too much about this. It should be on Amazon Prime.
Okay.
It's about a concert on an airplane with a Marilyn Manson type character. I'll just say that.
And
I caught this in a hotel room with me and my brother were on a trip, and we caught this one night, and we were just mystified by what we were watching. So I will probably be rewatching this also this week, just because it's been a while. But I just remember it just being like just one of those great bad films.
And this is something where like I assume it's just better going into it not seeing the first two.
I have no clue what the first two are about. It much like Troll 2, the first one doesn't matter. So
Rutger Hauer?
Oh yeah.
Tears in Rain?
Yeah, Rutger Hauer's in this, buddy.
Gabrielle Anwar, she was Fiona in Burn Notice. I mentioned Burn Notice twice today.
Oh yeah, she is from that. Oh yeah, I knew it. Okay. Yeah, and Joe, how do you say his last name? Mantiago or whatever. Mantegna, the one from Criminal Minds. He's in it. Yeah, it's an interesting film. I look very forward to it. I came very close to pulling a trigger on another one, but you'll find out what that one is in 2 weeks.
Is that why I need Tubi?
Yeah.
Okay.
It is a riff track, I will say that.
Okay.
What is weird? Yeah, I should have mentioned riff track on this episode about comfort foods. There's a official riff track channel on Twitch that just shows movies 24 hours a day, and sometimes when I can't find anything to watch, I'll just turn that on. I believe that there are riff track films that I've seen way more than I've seen Star Wars. There have to be. Like I've seen some of these like hundreds of times, and the one that you're going to watch in 2 weeks is one that I've seen probably way more than Star Wars. So
I've seen I haven't seen too many riff tracks or Mystery Science Theater. The two that stick out, I saw this on my birthday one year. I saw Santa Claus Conquers the Martians, which I thought that was hilarious. I was dying.
Yeah.
And then the first one I ever saw with my parents was the Robot versus the Aztec Mummy.
Yeah, that's Michelle's Theater. I know that we went to a live show with you. I think it was maybe House on Haunted Hill or something.
Yes, I do remember that.
Yeah.
Or was it Reefer Madness?
Either one. I've seen both, so I can't remember. Reefer Madness is something special. You still there? Did I lose you, Caleb?
Oh, that was a long cutout.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Reefer Madness, something special. We're gonna go ahead and wrap up this episode. Turbulence 3 is on Amazon Prime, so if you want to watch it along with Caleb, and then tune in next week to hear his thoughts on it. And again, if you have any comfort food TV shows, post them down in the comments. We'd love to hear them. But until next time, I've been Final Monkey.
And I'm Caleb.
And we will talk to you later. Bye.
See ya.